Grab a glass and get out here. Today, we're drinking Del Maguey Vida Mezcal. So my first experience with mezcal was actually in Mexico. My wife and I were traveling down to visit some of her family, and her uncle had picked us up from the airport. So we were driving through the mountains of Mexico and talking about how while I was in Mexico, I really wanted to try mezcal for the first time. And so my wife's uncle pulls over to a little liquor store on the side of the road and talks with the store owner, letting them know that I really wanted to try mezcal. And so what they did, they brought out a bottle of mezcal, a few limes, and tahini. So I guess one of the traditional ways in which they would drink mezcal, in Mexico especially, is they take a lime, cut it in half, and then carve out a cone of the flesh, the fruit of the lime, leaving the shell and some of the lime behind. Then they put in some tahini, which is like a slightly peppery, citrusy type of seasoning if you haven't had it. And then pour the mezcal over that. So it's a little lime shot glass. And then you just drink it through that. And as you drink it out of the lime, you squeeze the lime a little bit. So you're getting the mezcal, the lime juice, some of the flavorings from the tahini. Great experience. A fantastic way to be introduced to mezcal. So when I got back home, after having tried it, I really wanted to get some mezcals myself. One of the first mezcals that I bought was this Del Maguey Vida. So you may be wondering, what is mezcal? It's not a very common spirit here in the United States, so there can be a lot of confusion around it. So tequila is technically a type of mezcal, kind of like how bourbon is a type of whiskey, tequila is a type of mezcal. All tequila is mezcal, not all mezcal is tequila. Tequila has to be made in a specific region of Mexico. It's typically Jalisco, but there's a couple other states that are allowed to make tequila, and tequila has to have the specific Blue Weber agave. Mezcal, on the other hand, can be made just about anywhere in Mexico. It's a much broader range of states that can make mezcal, and they can use any agave varietal. There's espadín, which is the most common. Again, relating it to whiskey, think of yellow dent corn. Yellow dent corn is what 95% of whiskey bourbon uses for corn. So that's like the espadín for mezcal. But then there's other varietals, Quiche, Barril, Tobala, Mexicano, and quite a few others. There's probably dozens, but those are the big ones. The agave for mezcal is actually roasted in underground earthen pits. So they'll dig out a pit, take the agave piñas, and roast them underground, and that's where some smoky flavor is imbued. So another comparison to whiskeys, mezcal is kind of like a peated scotch. You have tequila as your unpeated scotch, and then mezcal is kind of like a peated scotch. So you have that kind of comparison as well. So it's a really unique spirit, a very traditional old spirit, especially in the Americas, especially the South America, of course, Mexico. This bottle specifically is, like I said, the Del Maguey Vida Mezcal. It is a single village mezcal, so very local. Think of it like grained glass type operation. Probably the bottle most responsible for introducing the United States to mezcal. It's in most bars, if they have mezcal, it'll be this one. A liquor store, if they have mezcal, they'll have this one. It's the most widely distributed. So it's a mezcal from Oaxaca, which is the largest producing state of Mexico for mezcal. So kind of like, again, Jalisco for tequila, Oaxaca is the biggest producer and exporter of mezcal, and it is made from espadín agave. It is a Hoven product. It's 84 proof, so 48%. No finishing, it's unaged. And price-wise, you'll usually find this for around $35 up to $50 in some places where it's a little harder to find. If you find it for like 40 some bucks, you're in a good spot. I think I paid $42, $45 for this. Enough talking, let's get into it. Now you may notice I have two tasting glasses for this. I've got my standard Glencairn nosing glass, but then I also have this more copita type glass. I think it's technically from a gourd. My wife got this for me. And this is much closer to a traditional drinking vessel for mezcals. Mezcals typically are not drank from something like a nosing glass. It's going to be more an open face. So I wanted to kind of go through what differences you might get from each experience. So on the nose, yeah, very campfire-y, char and smoke, but also some sort of, like it's a charred fruit. Maybe a charred melon, like a cantaloupe or honeydew. I think honeydew. Charred honeydew rind, I think might be the closest I'm going to get. There's some minerality. There is some sort of sweetness. It's almost like a sweet and sour sweetness. Yeah. It's intense. For 84 proof, I'm surprised how much is coming out of that glass. Now, switching over to the copita. Same flavors, but a little less intense. Obviously, with the Glen, that tulip shape is going to direct that all and concentrate the aromas more on the nose versus a copita that's more open. But really, that almost makes it easier to find those flavors. The flavors between the two are the same, but the copita just makes it so much easier. The ethanol doesn't come in. There is ethanol that I'm getting on the nose here that kind of makes it hard to parse through the different notes. Whereas on the copita, it's more tame, but it's easier to find the different notes. Well, now it's harder to find notes. When I first tasted it or nosed it, it was easier, but I don't know, maybe the wind blew it away. Challenges of being outside, you know? A lot less smoke on the nose. It's a lot tamer. It's a little more savory, sweet now. Still mineral, still kind of like a very nicely roasted agave now. More roasted agave versus the charred honeydew. Yeah, really interesting. Really interesting. All right, let's try this. Yeah, those flavors all transfer over to the palate very nicely. It's great viscosity on this. Really impressive. Again, probably like tequila, the distillation proof isn't going to be 125. It's probably closer to 100 proof or even lower for the distillation proof. So they probably did not have to add a lot of water to get it down to the 84 proof, which leaves it with this really great mouthfeel, almost silky smooth. Really impressive mouthfeel on this. And the smoke is less apparent on the palate than it was on the nose. Yeah, the smoke kind of overwhelms the nose, but it is tamer on the palate as I'm drinking this. really delightful. Um, it's got a little bit of meatiness to it, like a really nice smoked meat. Um, and I love that. It's like some smoked meat, um, but then also a little bit of some sort of teriyaki glaze almost, with the undercurrents of roasted agave still there. Really nice. Switching over to the copita. It's brighter. It's a little brighter coming out of the copita. Um, it's less smoked meat and a little more roasted, just like lightly roasted agave, toasted, more of a toast versus a roast, or like, where there's the roast and char on this side, this is more of a toasted, much lighter touch from the fire, from the smokiness. Much more approachable. It's incredible. I mean, you saw, I just poured from the same bottle into the two drinking vessels, but you get a legitimate difference in experience between the two. I would say, from the Glen, it's more intense. There's more happening. And if you really want to pick it apart and examine it, the Glen is going to serve you better. But if you're just looking to enjoy it, the Copita actually is going to be my recommendation on this. And one thing I really love about this, I don't know if you can see on the side, but it says, para todo mal, mezcal, para todo bien, también. Which means, for everything bad, mezcal. For everything good, the same. So, they actually have that translated on there. I didn't see that. For everything bad, mezcal, and to celebrate all good as well. I don't like that translation much, but the original is great, and they say, sip it, don't shoot it. Which, yeah, absolutely. If you want to punish yourself, sure, take a shot. But this is going to be much a great spirit to enjoy sipped, especially out of a more open glass. If you're just looking to enjoy it and kind of get a smoky, very smoky tequila type experience, this is a great way to go, especially at that price point of around 40 bucks. So, who is this for? Why would you buy this? This is a great entry point into mezcal. Now, it's an intense entry point. Some people don't appreciate how smoky this is. It can be a little too much at first, depending on the person. I definitely would say, if you're just getting into it, skip the Glen, go with a more open glass. Even just a rocks glass is going to be more approachable. And that's going to help you get past some of the smoke at first, but then as you get used to it, transfer into a Glen and really dig into that smoke. See if you can handle it. It's also fantastic for anyone who's into cocktails, because there's a few mezcal cocktails out there, and most of them are going to have been balanced around Vida Mezcal, Del Maguey Vida, because it is just so common, so prolific in the world of mezcal. Most cocktails will be balanced around that smoky character. So you'll be best off with this. Yeah, it's a fantastic mixer. It's also affordable and available. In the world of mezcal, there's not a lot of bottles that are just everywhere. Most liquor stores won't even have a bottle, especially smaller ones. Bigger liquor stores might, and if they do, this is what they'll have. So it's a very high quality entry point. This is not like a compromise when it comes to mezcal. This is a quality product with real, it's mezcal artisanal, which carries with it certain requirements, unlike some other spirits that have terms that the requirements are looser. The artisanal actually does require certain things about the production method, It requires no additives, things like that. So really fantastic. And it does carry that strong smoky character that if you're looking for mezcal, you know, this has it. Some alternatives, I would say Bozal, especially the ensemble. If you're looking to experience a few different agave varietals, the ensemble uses, I believe it's the Espadin, Barril, and Tobala. Fact check me on that, but I believe it uses those three varietals, brings them together, and it's really a fantastic sip. Incredible looking bottle. Very high quality. Again, something a little bit cheaper, but still pretty findable would be the Banhez. For about $30. The Bozal ensemble is about $50. And then finally for an upgrade, and also, you know, depending on what you're looking for, maybe a slightly less smoky alternative, would be the Derumbes San Luis Potosi for about $50 or $55. Derumbes is a fascinating brand because they have a series of mezcals, one for each of the main mezcal producing states. And for each state, they feature the mezcal is made using the natural wild varieties of agave from that state. So you're getting a much more terroir specific product. So imagine if in the US you had, you know, whiskeys with only grains grown from specific states. And he went around and tried different states' whiskeys. You know, again, that kind of grain to glass experience. So they have, I believe their Zacatecas one uses the Blue Weber agave, which is the same as they use for tequila, but produced with the mezcal method, which is a really fascinating adventure. And then they have one for Oaxaca, they have Michoacan, and a bunch of the different ones. I can't list them all right now, I don't remember offhand. But especially if you have family in Mexico or any Mexican roots, and you want to find a mezcal that features agave from the state that your family is from, or, you know, a state that's meaningful to you, maybe you traveled there one time, the Rumbas is going to be your best bet to find something like that. Some of them are more expensive. The prices between the bottles vary quite a bit, probably due to, you know, how hard it is to source the agave varietal that they are looking for, but those options at least exist. Speaking of Zacatecas, the majority of mezcals I have are actually from small mezcaleros in Zacatecas. That's where my wife's family is from. So those mezcals are not distributed in the United States. So, you know, unless you're traveling down to a tiny city up in the mountains of Zacatecas, you're not going to find those. But I'm still willing to kind of review those, talk you through the different experiences I have with those. Let me know if you're interested in something like that, even though you're likely unable to find it yourself, unless you're local and are able to, you know, come to a bottle share with me and I can bring it over and you can try something that's not available in the United States. But let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. Salud, and go touch grass. You know, anyone who's into cocktails, oh gosh.